is we are traveling the country trying to make sure that we get good, strong conservatives elected or re-elected across this country. All you have to do is turn on the news and see how bad it is. And it's bad. I've always said sometimes you gotta see rock bottom to know where up is. We're there. Now it's just time to start working up. We had the pleasure of endorsing Marionette in her last race. And I am telling you, she did not have an easy time. Nancy Pelosi went after her. She really hated that you were able to win this race. But Marionette's tough. And what I will tell you has made me the most proud is the things she stands for, the way she fights, the way she represents you. She hasn't forgotten where she's come from, which is always the one trigger I look for is, do they know who they work for? And she certainly gets it. I mean, right now, when you look at the economy, $30 trillion in debt. And you look at the fact that families are having to pay more when they go to the gas station, and that's how they get to work. Families are having to pay more at the grocery store, and that's how they feed their family. And the idea that the average American family is spending more than $6,000 a year this year as opposed to last year? Do you know when Michael and I were raising our kids where we got that money from? A credit card. And interest rates are going up. And that's what a lot of American families are going through. Your average American family savings account is $12,000. That's what's happening. And so what we're looking is, who are the people that are going to really understand that there's a serious problem when you have more debt than you have in your economy? That hasn't happened since World War II. But I will tell you this, some things have to change. And what we have watched Marionette do is she has fought the wasteful spending. She has said when you have to borrow interest to pay your debt, that's a problem and a national security threat. But she also acknowledges that the way to fix the problem is to balance the budget. You do it every day. You never spend more than you make. And she's fought to balance the budget. She's fought to cut wasteful spending. You don't want to know how your taxpayer dollars are being spent. But I'm going to tell you. You ready? $12 million for a baseball field in New York. $15 million for New Jersey to apply for the World Cup. $6.5 million for golf courses in Colorado. $463,000, get ready for it, for pigeons to learn how to play a slot machine. That's not a joke. That's a good question. Over $3.2 billion with a B went in stimulus checks to 2.2 million dead people. We have to snap out of it. You know who snapped out of it? The one that keeps fighting for it every day. You need to thank Marionette Miller-Meeks because she's not letting them forget. And you look at the crime on our streets. We haven't seen this in decades. Well, you know, if you try and defund the police, if you try and badmouth the police, if you try and act like law enforcement is your enemy, that's what you'll get. Marionette has fought, defended, and will continue to fight for the law enforcement here in Iowa, and she'll continue to fight for law enforcement around this country. We thank you for that. And look at the border. You can't tell me you are being compassionate when you see those dead people that were found in the 18-wheeler, including kids. You can't tell me that's compassion. What it is breaking the law over and over again and not worrying about the harm that you're doing to people. Do you know the number of people who have crossed the border illegally since Biden's been in office is enough to create the 7th largest city in America? Think about that. And let me tell you, that's not just affecting border states. Those kids are now going to be going into your schools. Those adults are going to need health care in your hospitals. And they're not going to tell you they're sending them here. Just like the people in North Carolina just found out they're putting them up in a school there. We are a country of laws. The second you stop being a country of laws, you give up everything this country is founded on. I will tell you, my parents, 85 and 87, Michael and I take care of them. They live with us. They came here legally. They put in the time. They put in the price. They are offended by what's happening on the border. Whenever I have dinner with my mom, she's always like, are they still letting those people cross the border? You know why? Legal immigrants are more patriotic than most Americans these days. They know how hard they had to work to get here. They know how hard they had to sacrifice to deserve to be here. Why are we allowing that to continue to happen? And they've allowed 50 terrorists to cross the border. Iran knows that's the easiest way to cross and to come into America. And 50 of them that we know of have tried to cross. That's the problem that we've got. And then you look at everything that's happened in education. Everybody wants to say it was COVID. We had a problem way before COVID. 66% of fourth graders across this country, pre-COVID, were not proficient in reading. 66% of eighth graders were not proficient in reading or math. Now you add 2 years of COVID, shut down schools, and I want you to imagine a kid in rural South Carolina, like where I was born and raised, and here you have a kid whose both parents had to work. He's sitting on a screen he's never used before, using a hotspot on a school bus down the street. And now think about, what if he's in third grade? What's he learning? Reading? Fractions? History? Do you really think the teachers' unions are going to go tell his parents to hold him back? They're not. So you have desperate parents realizing their children have been left behind. And you think we have labor issues? Wait until 5 years from now when they're not graduating high school. But there's been a voice and a champion. Marionette Miller-Meeks has fought to say, not only should we go and pay attention to what is being taught to our kids in our schools, we need to have school choice so that any parent can pick the school of their choice and take care of their child, and we thank you for that. And then you look at the foreign policy situation. That one's tough, and that one's personal for me. Because when you see how strong we were, and you see how far we've fallen, it's tough to watch. But go back to Afghanistan. My husband's a combat veteran. He was deployed to Afghanistan. The idea that Biden would have us leave Bagram Air Force Base in the middle of the night without telling our allies who stood shoulder to shoulder with us for 2 decades because we asked them to be there. Think about what that told our friends. More importantly, think about what that told our enemies. Then remember when the food processing plant and the pipeline were hacked into by Russia? Russia wasn't doing that to destabilize us. They were doing that to see how we would react. Do you know what we did? Nothing. Then you looked at the Iran deal. Biden's falling all over himself to get back into this Iran deal. And Iran doesn't even allow America to be in the room. And do you know who our chief negotiator is negotiating on our behalf? Russia. That is all the green light that China and Russia need to see to say we're never going to have a country, America, this week again. And they're moving forward. And the lessons that we have learned in Ukraine are, when a tyrant says something, we need to believe them. China said they were going to take Hong Kong, and they did. Russia said they were going to take Ukraine. We're watching it now. China says Taiwan is next. We better be ready. Russia says Poland and the Baltics are in his sights. That's what's going to happen. We need a strong America, not a nice America, a strong America that prevents wars, that understands that the only way you have peace in the world is with strength. And I will tell you, you have an amazing voice who knows what it's like to sacrifice, knows what it's like to serve, and knows the importance of a strong military. And I am so thankful for Marionette's voice in Congress. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so we've talked about a lot of really negative things. But why is that happening? This national self-loathing has to stop. This idea that America is an awful country, this idea that the people in America are oppressed, this idea that America is not what she was. You know, when I look at the Ukrainians, I'm in awe of them. The idea that the men took their women and children to safety and went out and fought for their country. The idea that women got their children taken care of and went and made Molotov cocktails. The patriotism. You know why I'm in awe? That used to be us. We used to be that country. We used to fight for what we believed in, and we knew America was great. When I was at the United Nations, I was used to people hating America. I've never and will never get used to Americans hating America. Because when I was in those back rooms at the UN, those countries told me they loved the fact that we had freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to do and be anything we wanted to be without government getting in the way. I saw that when the U.S. spoke, the world listened. When we acted, the world followed. Who we are, the world wants to be. We've got to get back to that place. We've got to understand that capitalism has lifted up more people in the history of the world. We've got to understand that a strong America makes a safe world. And right now what we're looking at, countries are having to make a decision. Russia and China say they're ultimate partners, and Iran is their junior partner with them. And then you've got the U.S. and the West. These countries have to choose a side. Which side are they going to choose? You know what they're going to choose? They're going to choose who can win. Do they trust that America will win? Do they trust that Russia will lose? I'm telling you, we have to win. And I have faith. I have faith because America has an amazing ability to self-correct. We have to start remembering the greatness of America. We've got to start remembering patriots like Marionette. We've got to start remembering what makes us great is faith and family and freedom. And when we do that, that's when we'll look like we're winning again. That's when countries will respect us again. That's when kids will get educated again. That's when we'll have an economy that's strong and bold. That's when families will feel stable and feel like they can sustain it.